How's it going? I'm Jared Gillis. Welcome to another All About RVs. Today we're going to be doing a review of the AC unit that we just put on the RV. Last week we talked about how to install it and how to optimize it when you're installing just about any AC unit, but this one in particular was really hard to find a lot of information on it. I was able to find some general information, but digging down into the features that are there currently and features that are going to be built into the future and options of how flexible this unit is, it was really hard to find that information. So I wanted to do a review of it and try and get that information out there so that you can make an informed decision if you're shopping around for an AC unit. So we ended up buying this through Etrailer. They had a great price on a kit with everything that's included, but you can usually find this unit for around $670, $660, somewhere in that ballpark. As always, I'll have the links down in the description so you can find the current pricing and up-to-date information on it. But first off, let's take a look at a few of the specs with this unit. I mean, it's always great to shoot for even a higher efficiency unit. You look at the efficiency of mini splits that are out there. It'd be great to get to that point, but the form factor doesn't fit across the board for a lot of RVs in the mini split. So let's look at the efficiency and the numbers that we can get out of a unit like this. So like I said, it's the 15,500 BTU unit. It draws 15.4 amps, which is around 1,720 watts. Now, it's always the big question of how well does the AC start in really hot conditions. So I don't have a Honda 2200 to see how well it starts on that generator, but I can start it on our inverter. We have a 3,000 watt inverter, just a couple of batteries. It is currently 97.9 degrees outside, so around 98 degrees. This does have some benefits for being able to start in different conditions. So it's able to stagger some of it, and it has a start capacitor from what I understand. So if we just fire up that fan, we'll get that up and going, and then we can turn on the compressor, get it cooling, and see how it starts on the inverter. And you can see that it's a larger inverter, but it didn't even flinch at that. It just started right up. So let's talk about the thermostat though. Now, not that this matters, but if they wanted points for designing a thermostat that looks good, I think they did a fantastic job. They would get high marks in that regard. I like that it's not bulky, it's very simple, the button layout is easy to use, and the display has everything that you need right on it. So they win in that regard. But let's jump into the cooling mode, the features, because that's what's really important. So when you put this on cool, the fan will kick on and it'll start cycling that air. And then when you drop down that temperature to where the compressor will kick on, that will allow that to engage and it'll start cooling. So you have 3 different fan speeds. They say 4, but it's 3 different fan speeds built into this system. They have the low, the medium, and the high, but then they also have the auto. So if you're trying to make up a lot of ground, trying to cool down a lot of air in that RV quickly, a big temperature difference, then the fan will automatically go to high if you have it on auto. And it actually works pretty well through there. It's a nice little transition between those different fan speeds. So the compressor will kick on and off depending on if you still need to cool or if you've reached that temperature. So if you've reached the temperature, the fan will continue to blow and the compressor will turn off. So they have that fan continuing to circulate the air because the sensor is actually not in the thermostat. The sensor to detect what the temperature of the room is actually inside the AC unit where the return air is. So it needs to keep that air circulating so that it knows the temperature of the room, rather than just if the heat is risen to the top portion of the RV, it wants to cycle that. And it's going to help everything balance throughout the RV better, and it's going to give you a good indication of what the temperature is throughout the RV. So that's why they do it that way. So some people, that's a deal breaker. They want the fan to be able to kick off when the compressor kicks off. Some people love the white noise just going through the entire time and not having that fan kick off and on. So inside this thermostat, you don't have the option of having the fan cycle on and off when the compressor reaches that temperature, but we do have some additional features so that you're not stuck in that later on down the road. But before we get into that, the other thing that we usually use our thermostat for is being able to turn on the heater in the wintertime. So pretty straightforward. You go to that mode, you can set your temperature, and the furnace will kick on and turn off depending on what you have the settings on in the thermostat here. Now this thermostat also has an auto function built into it with the combination of the cooling and the heating. So at night you might have the heater kick on in the auto function, but then when it warms up during the day, the AC can kick on and you're just in that same mode. But one feature that I've seen in this unit that I haven't seen in too many other ones is being able to put it on dry. An AC unit, when it's functioning, one of the byproducts is it's drying out the air inside of your RV. So it uses that capability to continue to dry out the inside of your RV so you don't have too much condensation or moisture built up inside of the RV. So if you need to cool the RV and you have it on the dry function, it's just gonna operate like a normal AC would. But if you've already reached that temperature, it goes into a mode where it begins to continue to dry out your RV without trying to lower that temperature too much. So it'll kick on the compressor for 10 minutes and then it'll have it kick off for 6 minutes. And the fan's gonna run continuously trying to dry out that air inside of your RV. So it does have that feature to dry out the air in your RV, kind of like a dehumidifier. So pretty interesting that they integrated that into this unit. Now this unit has a sleep function built into it, and the way that that operates is if you are using the furnace, say in the wintertime, and you hit the sleep function and you go to bed, after an hour it's gonna drop 2 degrees. And then the following hour after that, it'll drop 2 degrees and it'll hold that temperature throughout the night. The idea is hopefully that it's not gonna be running as much, it's not gonna be kicking on, and it just gives you that temperature if you're more comfortable at that, to just have it drop as you go to bed. And if it's in the summertime and you have that AC on and you're cooling the RV, it'll do it in reverse. So if you have it set at 72, after an hour, it'll go to 74, and then another hour, it'll go to 76, and then it'll maintain that for the evening and put it on the low fan for the rest of the time, so hopefully you can get as much undistracted sleep as you can. So a few of those functions we're probably not going to use, but we ended up using our own thermostat. We just use our own residential thermostat. That way when the AC cycles off, the fan kicks off too. We don't have our fan just run all the time. So that was just a personal preference for us, and not being able to have that function inside of this thermostat was why we switched back to our other one. I love this thermostat. I love the look of it. I just wish it gave us a little bit more control. And the other thing that we couldn't do with this thermostat is we couldn't drop the night temperature. So if it was in the wintertime and we wanted to set that low temperature for the furnace to kick on, we're crazy and we like to usually set it around 55 degrees, but we could only go to 60. So it was kicking on more than we wanted to for us and our preference. So being able to go and put in a thermostat and not have to use theirs was great, because theirs wires up, it receives power, and then it just has an A and a B. That doesn't look like most thermostats out there, but we're able to switch inside this unit to analog, which basically means we're able to have control of this unit and not use their digital thermostat. So this was something that we were kind of able to unlock in the unit that I didn't know was going to be there. Being able to put basically any thermostat we want on this unit is fantastic. We were able to have the wires where it had high fan, low fan, the compressor, the furnace, and the common all come down to our thermostat. So like I said, we're using a residential thermostat, so we don't have the ability to have the high and the low. So I ended up just wiring in a double pole, double throw switch so that we can switch between high and low. It's not as clean and nice looking as their thermostat, but it gives us the function that we wanted. And that's really what matters in the end, is being able to function the system the way you would like to. And it was all pretty easy to wire up, actually. We have a common wire that comes to our thermostat, which goes into the RC function. And then we have our furnace wire, we have our AC wire, and then we also have the fan wire. So between those and that fan wire is fed from that switch, so that way it sends a signal whether it's going to be high or low, and it all just functions. I am going to keep my eye out for another thermostat. I would love a little bit more control, a little bit more functionality in a package like this that is built for an RV. I'd love to get rid of that high-low switch that's on the wall. So I would love this, just a little bit more control would be fantastic. I'll put a link down in the description if you're interested on how we made our thermostat work with this unit and be able to unlock that feature. It really wasn't that difficult, and it's nice that they packed that into this unit. Now, a few other things that I found that they packed into this that aren't really available yet that they have planned for the future is it's actually prepped for a heat pump. So In the future, I imagine we're going to be able to add a heat pump function to this. So I actually called them and said, is this something that's going to be backwards compatible, or is it just kind of in there for future ones that you guys build? And it sounded like it's going to be available backwards compatible, so that we're able to buy a unit to be able to put in here to make it a heat pump unit, which is fantastic. And then I also saw in there that we might be able to add electric heat. So being able to add some coils in there if we wanted to heat that way also. So there's some interesting things out there, and I would love to see what happens in the future with this unit. It looks like they're planning for the future. This is their first round out, and I can't wait to see if more features get packed into this and how that gets implemented into the system. But for what you buy and what you get, it's actually a decent price, and the form factor works really good for RVers, and the temperatures and the cooling capacity that we get out of this unit I have been happy with. So that's really everything that's packed into this unit and how you use it. I can't wait for them to start rolling out some of these new features and abilities to give it even more functionality. But overall, we've been happy with this AC unit. So if you look at the big three things that I would use to decide whether the AC is right for you is, will it cool the RV effectively? That's gonna have to be first and foremost on the list. And then number two, does it fit your needs and kind of your wants? We wanted one that wasn't as loud as the one that we had previously. If you go to their website, you can see some of the technology that they built into this to make the unit quieter. So comparing the sound level to the unit we had before to this one has definitely been quieter. It's easier to enjoy the living space inside the RV and not have it be too loud from this unit. And you can kind of see from their design, the third thing is they did a really good job designing it to where it looks like a good unit. That one's not as important, but it's still important to have a form factor that fits well for RVers, and you can tell that they put some thought into the design, how it looks on the inside of the RV, how it looks on the outside, and the thermostat. I think they did a good job providing a product that aesthetically looks good. So that's gonna do it for today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you wanna see more videos about RVing, hit that subscribe button. And if we don't see you on the road, hopefully we will see you next video.